Yeah. Okay. Hey, we got some great candidates out there, and we gotta get out there and work for all of them. Okay. At this time, I'd like to introduce Eunice ELehmacher. Eunice ELehmacher is running for South Carolina House District 3. That's the Clemson, Central, and 6 Mile area. It's an open seat currently held by the retiring Gary Clary, a very moderate Republican. As Trav said, the demographics have changed, and we are very, very right for putting a Democrat in that seat. Eunice is a social worker for Prisma Health Oconee Memorial Hospital, and her career has been dedicated to teaching, counseling, and assisting marginalized and disadvantaged. Her husband Gerald's a professor of physics at Clemson, and they've got 2 grown sons. Eunice is committed to making Pickens County a better place to live. She believes in serving her community as both an organizer and a volunteer. She's worked as a teacher, counselor, grant writer, and leader with many church, community, and university groups. I met Eunice when we both participated in the Clemson area pledge to end racism. And she has been extremely active in that process. Oconee Democratic Party is committed to helping Eunice win in November, and Trav's already outlined the reasons why we need to do that. And so we know many of you have already donated or are working on her campaign team. And so now I'll introduce Eunice ELehmacher.
Hello, and thank you, Jody. Thanks for welcoming me today. I have to say that I don't know that I would have been doing this run if Jody hadn't run such a successful campaign in 2018 and if Mary Guerin hadn't been so successful. And both of you encouraged me, and I appreciate it. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. When I was a little girl, you would usually have found me in my room with all my stuffed animals and dolls lined up, and I was teaching them. I don't remember ever wanting to be anything but a teacher, and I've been a teacher ever since. I sometimes teaching my dolls, and the doorbell would ring, and I'd open the door to a stranger. You see, we lived in the parsonage next to the church where my dad was a pastor in Wilson, North Carolina, and people were coming to ask for help. My dad would have them in and maybe help them with gas to get to the next town or money for a hotel. And my mom would invite them in for dinner. Now, let me tell you, when I was 7 and the food was my favorite, mac and cheese, I wasn't always thrilled about having strangers to share dinner with. And this happened often. But my faith and my parents taught me some very important values. Values like nobody should go hungry, and everybody deserves a second chance. That there are sometimes barriers that get in the way that prevent people from thriving, and that we, the church and the community, have to work together to help people to reach their inner strength. I've taken those values I learned from God and from my parents and the church, and I've worked for 3 decades as a high school teacher, as a director of Christian education, and more recently as a social worker or a psychotherapist. As Jody said, I work at Oconee Memorial Hospital now, where I'm an outpatient therapist serving the employees, the healthcare workers, providing counseling, caregivers of persons with dementia, and those who are grieving. Now, I can't tell you the stories of the people I work with. You all know that's confidential. But let me tell you a couple snippets or sketches of some of the things I've seen. You know these stories yourself. Perhaps a caregiver takes in her sister or her mother who recently got a very difficult diagnosis, cancer, dementia. They take care of her in their home until one of the couple has to give up their job to be the caregiver. And now we're facing a serious disease, declining income, and increasing medical bills. I've even worked with families that lost their homes. We have a healthcare system that's not working so well for people. I've worked with mothers who made the right, courageous choice to ask that boyfriend who was hitting them to leave. But then on one income, they didn't have enough money to pay the rent, the electricity, and food, meaning some of those women are going the 4th week of the month without food or just eating saltines. I've worked with students, I was a counselor at Clemson University for a while, that are working full-time, being a student full-time, and sending money home to their parents to help raise younger children. There's too many systems that are broken: healthcare, education. South Carolina has been too long at the bottom of things like education and at the top of things like domestic violence. Now, I'm glad I've been able to help those families. There's a lot that I can do as a social worker one-on-one, and I've made a network of other people that can help. But that's not enough, and that's why I decided to run for the State House. We don't have many women in healthcare or even men in healthcare in the State House, and we're in a pandemic. That's exactly who we need right now. People with experience in healthcare and education who can say, no, it is not okay to give money only to private schools. It's not okay to fund sending the National Guard to the south border instead of funding our schools and our healthcare. So I want to prioritize healthcare, of course, education. I want to get broadband to everybody. I want to work at creative solutions to get more doctors into our rural areas and keep our hospitals alive. And I need your help, just like the others have said. In fact, it's pretty easy to help me. You can help me and Jamie and Hosea all at the same time, because I bet every single one of you know people who live in Clemson, Central, and 6 Mile. Some of them aren't registered to vote. Would you have a one-on-one conversation with them? Would you explain to them, especially if they're over 65 or working on November 3rd, that they can absentee ballot? Would you talk to your friends that are in the military and have them order their absentee ballot now? We can all work together on this. I am benefiting from all the things Jody learned. Steve, for example, is on my data team and is helping us to target voters. Many of you have already given to my campaign. We're using that money strategically. I'm not going to send any postcards to somebody who's got a sign in their yard that says gun owners for Trump. We don't need to waste our money on them. I'm sending cards, making phone calls, and hopefully I'll get to make visits to those people that are persuadable. But the best way to persuade them is that you talk to them. So please talk to your friends that live in my area. Tell them, finally, there's a Democrat that's running, and not just a Democrat, but a woman who's in healthcare, who's learned for 3 decades how to help people and wants to help more people. So thanks for all the help you've given me. My website is eunice4forsc.com, and I'm on all the social media pages for that too. If you'd like me and share my page, that would help too. And I appreciate your donations that can help me reach more voters. And thanks so much for having me today. I look forward to talking to each one of you.
Thank you so much. I wish you could hear all of us give your applause. All right, Eunice. I think she's a game changer for that district.